During this section, we're going to talk about modifying our Excel worksheet, modifying the spreadsheet that we have here. We'll also talk a little bit about modifying the workbook structure itself, such as adding and deleting worksheets within the workbook. So first, let's talk a little bit about moving and copying content. First, let's talk about moving, or cutting and replacing content, or moving it to some other location. So as an example here, I've got my little spreadsheet. It starts up inside of A1, goes down to A14, and the last cell there on the right is F14. So from A1 down to F14. Now what I like to do here is I want to take that content and I want to move it over one column and maybe down one row. So I want it to start inside of B2 and end inside of G15. Just really over one column, down one row. Maybe for formatting purposes, I want a nice border around it. I don't want it stuck right up there inside the corner, right? For whatever, presentation purposes or whatever reason, I need to move this content. Well, Excel has actually made this really easy to do. And you got a couple of methods. Here's one of them. I can select that range. I'm just going to start inside A1, left click and drag down just to highlight all of that content from A1 down to F14. Now, I can take my cursor, and if I move to the border, either that right border or the bottom border, doesn't matter. See how my cursor changes from that big plus sign to a four-headed arrow? When I find that edge, that four-headed arrow, I can left click, hold down, and I can drag this to a new location. See that? I'll move it right into B2. So now I'm going to start at B2. I'm going to end at G15. So I can move my content. Now that's great, but what if you want to move it to a completely new workbook or a completely new worksheet? Or I just want to move a portion of it. Like maybe I want to move this 200 someplace else, right? You can still do the same thing. I can still move my cursor to the edge and I can drag that out. No problem. I'm going to Control Z to undo that. You also have the option for cut and paste, right? You've probably used this in Excel, maybe used it in other applications. If I highlight that data, I'm just going to grab it all again. On my keyboard, I'm going to use the shortcut key. I'm going to cut this out. So I'm going to do Control X. Control X will be cut. I can also find the cut command on the Home tab inside of the clipboard section. Looks like a little pair of scissors. That'll be your cut command as well. Control X or Home, clipboard, use the little scissors. That'll cut it out as well. So now I know it's cut out because it's got the little marching ants floating around it. So now if I go someplace else, like I'm going to move over here to the I column, I can then paste it in. Control V, V like Victor, will paste it in. And I've now moved it from one location to another. Let's go ahead and just drag that back. Boop, right there. You've also got the paste command up above. Once you cut something out, the paste option will become active and you can then paste it back in. Now I mentioned, well, that's great and I can move stuff around within a single worksheet, but what if it's a completely new workbook or it's a completely new worksheet? Well, if I move down to my little plus sign here, just down here at the bottom of my screen, and if you're on an earlier version, if you're on 2007 or something earlier, it's not going to be a plus sign, but you actually get a little icon that shows up right next door. Looks kind of like a little like sun looking thing. It's kind of yellow, orangey looking. That'll be your new sheet button as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and insert a new sheet. I get sheet 2. Great. So now let's say I want to move this to the other sheet. Or maybe I want to create a copy of it and copy paste that to the other sheet. Well, we know how to cut. I can do Control X, take that, go to sheet 2, Control, I want to paste it in. Control V like Victor, and I could paste it in. I've now removed it, moved it from sheet 1 and put it on sheet 2. Let's go ahead and undo that. Control Z. Now it should be back on sheet 1. I'm going to hit my escape key. This will remove the marching ants, the little marquee. So that was a cut and paste. But what if I just want to copy it? Because now I want to do next year's budget, right? Or next week's numbers or next month's numbers, and I want to separate those from sheet to sheet. Well, I've got a new sheet. I can highlight the data I want. Control C for copy. I'll copy that. Go to sheet 2, and I just want a single cell, and Control V to paste right there. So now I got it on both sheets. They're two independent sets of data. They're no longer linked to one another. They don't update one another. They are two completely sets of data. You can cut and paste. You can copy and paste, add a new sheet. We could do this on completely different workbooks. I could go File, New, create a new Excel document, and I can cut and paste between the different Excel documents as well. So you've probably done this maybe inside of Excel, probably in other applications for sure. Cut and paste, copy, paste, same operations. Control C, copy, Control X, cut, Control V, paste. And you got all your commands up there at the top of your screen as well on the Home tab underneath the clipboard. So try this out. Even if you've done it before, get an idea working with it inside of Excel, move between sheets, cut and paste between sheets. And then in the end, because I really just want the one sheet, let's make sure you get back to sheet 1 and your data is there. I'll hit my escape key just to wipe out the marquee. And let's make sure your data is sitting there inside of sheet 1. All right, you keep sheet 2 there if you'd like to. We'll talk about deleting sheets here in just a little bit. But really, cut and paste, copy, paste, call it done. So we've seen a little bit of copy and paste. Well, what about adding additional rows and additional columns into an already built spreadsheet? Let's take a look. So here, I've already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bills, right? What if I want to introduce an additional bill into my monthly budget here? Well, you can do this a couple of ways, and there's a few things that we need to be aware of. Let's take a look at it. So first off, I want to introduce a new bill in here. So I need a new row for that new bill so I can put the numbers in there and the calculations. And the calculations is really what we need to keep an eye on. So the way that I'm going to do it here is, let's say I want to introduce the bill somewhere in the middle of my data. So I'm going to put it right in between phone, credit, and food, somewhere in there. So what I'm going to do is click on the row 7, just the header right there on the left. Click on row 7. This will highlight the entire row. And on my keyboard, I got a full keyboard here. Let's see if I can show you this on the camera here. I got it. Let's see. There it is. And I got the full keyboard here. So it's got all of my alpha characters and my numbers up along the top, all my special characters, and I got my number pad. And that's what I mean by the full keyboard. Some of you may be sitting at a laptop that doesn't have the number pad on the far right. You might have it there. You might not. Just a lot of laptops don't come with that full-size keyboard. So I'm going to give you a shortcut. It's going to be a little bit different based on whether or not you have the full keyboard, or the number pad, or you just have the main portion of the keyboard. So I've got the number 7, that row selected. And on my keyboard, I'm going to hold down the Control key. And on my number pad, I'm going to hit the plus sign. And this will insert a new row. So now I could put in my new bill. I can say, hey, okay, we've got rent, phone, credit card, food, we got candy. Now, let's see, we've also got, we got water, right? Got to pay for the water bill, right? So I drop in my label. I'm now going to drop in some numbers. Watch my bottom calculations here. So $16.75 for the month of January. So let's say for water, I spent $50. I'm going to hit my tab key to go to the next month. And look at that. My formula automatically updated. Let's just double check it. C5 to C10 is now including all of those new cells, or the one new cell, right? And that happens because I added that row somewhere within that data set. If I'm outside of that data set, like I added up above the table, of course, Excel is not going to get it. You put it someplace in between that existing set of data, and the formula automatically updates. Now I keep going here. Maybe I'll just autofill this over. Got $50 for each month for water. But now it doesn't have a total for that water. Well, not a big deal. We just talked about copy paste earlier, right? Or the autofill. I can go to 350, copy that, Control C, drop down, Control V, paste it in, and I've now got my 150 for water. And I'll do the same here for percent. Copy, paste. Roughly 2% of my bills goes to water for these 3 months, right? So I can insert a new row, drop in my values, and just watch your calculations. These bottom ones, automatically updated. These, I just copy paste or autofill them down, and I'm done. Now, the same is true for a column. Let's say I need to add the next month. So I go to F, select the F column. On my keyboard, earlier I used Control and the plus sign on my number pad. If you don't have the number pad, you've got the plus sign at the top of your keyboard. So I can do Control Shift plus at the top of my keyboard because the equal sign's the regular one. And that'll insert, let's get that selected. That'll insert a new column. And let's see, January, February, March, we got April, all right? April 2019. There we go. And I can start dropping in my numbers. So let's say rent went up $100 and I got 1,100. Phone 125. Water went down. Credit cards, I'm getting those paid down 150. Food went up. Candy stayed at 100. And all these calculations over here should have updated. Now includes that April in there, but I need to populate the one at the bottom. Grab the 18, autofill that over, call it done. All right, so adding rows, adding columns, I use shortcuts. Highlight the row or highlight the column, Control plus on your number pad, or Control Shift plus for the top plus sign. You've also got interface tools you can use as well. If I go to the Home tab, looking at Excel here, Home, I go over towards the right, you got a section called Cells, and inside of there you've got Insert. So I can go to Insert here, and I got the same options. I can insert rows, I can insert columns. You got the options right there. Now, I like shortcuts, right? Control plus, done. We can also perform deletions on rows and columns. Let's say I no longer need water. Well, actually I need water, but I don't need it inside of Excel, right? So I can highlight row 7 again. And this time, rather than Control plus to add a new row, I'm going to press Control minus. And that'll delete the row. Water's now gone. Let's get rid of April. I can highlight that one and Control minus, delete it. Now again, if you don't have the full number pad, you can do Control and minus at the top of your keyboard. No Shift key on that one, just Control and the minus symbol. Done. All right, and you got the same option up above. On your Home tab, you got delete, and you can delete rows and columns right there. So you have multiple ways to do just about everything, and that's really not just it, but I love shortcuts. Just keep in mind, as you add rows and columns to an existing set of data, that you watch the formulas. Make sure that they're updating, or in some cases, you'll have to populate them yourself. So try this out. Add some additional months, add some additional rows, whatever you like to do. And this is also a good spot within our course to take a moment and take a snapshot of your document. Okay? If you're not getting too personal with your data, take a snapshot, go to the Q&A section inside the course, and drop that snapshot in there. Let us see what you've done so far. Let's celebrate what you're learning inside of Excel. So it's exciting. There's so much that you can do inside of this application. And again, we've only gone through a little bit of the course. There's so much more you can do inside of Excel and streamline your efforts and become more efficient as you work with your data inside of Excel. So get this done. Let's jump into our next lecture. The next topic that I want to get into is a pretty common question that I get inside my Excel trainings. This deals with changing the width of a column and the height of a row. And this shows up in various questions that I get for many different reasons. One, I just want to get in there and make it look a little more presentable. Kind of spread some stuff out, get a little more white space inside of there, and really just treat it as a formatting option. The other reason I get this question quite a bit of is because data starts to get cut off if the column is too narrow, or maybe the row is just too low, right? It's not high enough. The height isn't presenting all the data. As an example here, when I moved the data earlier from A1 to F14, I moved it over into the E column, and the E column now is presenting all these pound symbols. Pound, 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 pound. Or hashtag, 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 right? So the reason why that happens is because it's a numeric value. Remember, dates are numeric to Excel, and it's just too narrow for the month of March. So all I need to do here is move up to my E column, right in between E and F. If I move my cursor there, see I got that kind of two-headed arrow looking thing? I'm going to left click and drag. And this will allow me to adjust the width of that column. You'll see if I narrow it too much, I go back to those pound symbols. If I narrow it way too much, then I'm starting to get pound symbols inside of all those numeric values. All I do is just drag that out just to give it a little bit more space and accommodate for the size of those values. Now, if it's not numeric, you don't get the pound symbols if it's too narrow, but it just gets cut off. You see credit card, it's just cut off right there, right? So I just grab it and I drag it out. There it is. And I can get that full value. You can do the same thing with rows. If I want to increase the height or decrease the height, I can go in between two rows like 4 and 5 here. I'll grab that line and just drag it to increase or decrease the height of that row. That can be super useful, not just for revealing more content, but if you want to increase the height and color the background and do some formatting commands, it can look pretty good. It can also happen if you end up wrapping text or have a big paragraph of text and you need to increase the width and the height of that cell. You can do that right here. Now I'm going to give you one more tip, actually 2 more tips. I love it. I love tips. I love shortcuts. So something else you can do. If you want to automatically adjust a column, I want to adjust the column width and I want it to find the largest value in that column and adjust it to that. Watch this. So let's say this one here. I'm going to shrink it back down again. Now I just want it to auto fit. Well, if I move my cursor in between the 2 columns again, get that double-headed arrow once again, I'll just double click and it will auto fit to the largest value in that column. What do you think of that one? All right. I shrink something else up here, double click, find the largest value. Let's see, these are all looking pretty, but this one it can actually shrink, right? Total is much smaller. These are all much smaller. So if I double click in between F and G, it'll find the largest value and fit to that. Now, actually, I don't really like that. I'm going to bring it back out again. I like white space. If stuff is too crowded next to each other, it becomes hard to read. So, but you got a shortcut there. Something else you can do. Love this one, and it's a question I get asked all the time. How can I adjust multiple columns? Well, if I select, let's see, I want to adjust all 3 months, and maybe the total and the percent. Let's just throw them all in there. Exclude the bills, but I'm going to highlight C through G. I'm going to go to one column right in between, let's say D and F or D and E, and I'm going to left click and drag. Now it looks like I'm just adjusting the D column, but as soon as I let go, it will adjust all of them. And if I double click in between one of them, it'll auto fit every column. Love it. You want it to be uniform, consistent, highlight all the columns, readjust, and it adjusts each column. And the same will be true with rows. You highlight multiple rows in there, you drag it one of them, and it'll adjust all of them for you. So again, modifying your existing worksheet, making sure that your data is presentable, that you can read it, you're not getting those pound symbols where your numbers should be, you're not cutting off values like credit cards. Adjust the width and height of your columns and rows. So try this out, get some practice with it, mess around with it, try the different approaches, whether it's a single column, multiple columns, double click for an auto fit, right? Go wild with it, adjust your columns. So we just took a look at increasing the height or the width or decreasing the width and height of columns and rows. Well, what about hiding a column or hiding multiple columns or rows, right? I don't want people to see this data. The data should be there, maybe for my eyes only, your eyes only, but I don't want everybody that goes into the worksheet to see that data, or we really don't need that data at this point. Don't delete it because you want to keep that around, but I'll hide a column or multiple columns or rows. Take a look. So if I go into the worksheet and let's say I don't care about January anymore. I want to keep the data around. Historically, we want that data, but I want to hide it. Or perhaps there's more sensitive type information that I don't need users to get access to? Well, I can hide it. And this is also useful when you go to print your content. Whatever's hidden doesn't print out. So here, I can do this a couple different ways. Here, I'm going to select column C. That's the column that I want to hide. I'm going to right click on the C, just that top C there. And one of the options in there is to hide. So I'll go ahead and select that. And I've now hidden January or column C. Now, if you look really closely and you get the more observant users into your Excel document, take a look at that. Okay, yeah, great. We got bills, we got February data, March. And if they look up at the column headers, oh, where'd C go? C's no longer there. Well, we hid it. The data's still there. Column C is actually still there. We just essentially took the column width and smashed it, right? We said, nope, 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 nope. Nobody can see that, right? We just hid it. Well, for those that are a little more experienced inside of Excel, they could just go right up in between column B and D. And see, I get that double-headed arrow, but it's got kind of a space in between it. Well, if I left click and drag, I can pull column C back out. And there's the data again. January data right there. So in fact, I just got a question. I was recording these videos and in between recording a video, sometimes I answer questions that come into my Udemy courses or into my courses here. And I got a question really literally about this topic. Somebody asked me, well, great. I just watched the video on hiding and non-hiding columns. Well, what if I don't want users to be able to do that? I don't want them to be able to unhide columns. Well, luckily for you and for them, in this course, we also talk about adding protection, kind of security, locking down the worksheet. And that will disable users from unhiding columns that they shouldn't see. So I could hide a column. I'll just right click it, I'll hide it. That keeps them from looking at it, but they can still go and hide it. Well, later on in the course, we'll go into the review tab, and in there you have an option for protect sheet. We'll talk some more about that. There's all sorts of little bells and whistles in there. We'll talk about that much later in the course, but just give you a heads up and keep you going here. There's so much more you can do here. And if you really want to lock that down, you can protect the sheet as well. So I'm going to give you one more little tip here. On the View tab, top of your screen, right, there's also some show check marks. See that there? So this is View. You got Show, 4 little check marks in there. One of them is Headings. This is something small, but if I uncheck that option for headings, I no longer see the ABC and the 1, 2, 3. Now, that could also potentially be used here if you're really trying to distract the users and you don't want them to gain access to it. But once again, you get the more advanced users inside of Excel, they can go right back to View, turn headings back on. So really, worksheet protection is going to take it much further for us. And again, just watch for that later in the course as well. But try this one out. Again, you can right click hide. You can just smash them down. Do the same thing with a row. If you want to show it again, you can just drag that back out, right? If you've hidden multiple, let's say I'm going to hide all 3 months because I really just want to get the summary data, get the totals and the percentages there and call it good. And that's all I want. Well, now I want to get back to all 3 months. Well, if I select B through F, right, because I don't see C, D, and E, I'll select B through F, then I'm going to right click and unhide, and that'll bring them all back for us. All right, right click hide, right click unhide, click and drag to increase or decrease the column width or row height, and you can hide content. So try this out, get a feel for it, try it both ways, drag it, undrag it, right click hide, right click unhide, try it out. So in the earlier lecture, we were talking about copying and pasting, cutting and pasting data. And in passing, I showed you how to insert a new worksheet. Right down at the bottom of our screen, in the newer releases of Excel, you got the little plus sign that you can get to. In the earlier releases, like 2007 and earlier, it's not a plus sign, but it looks like a little star, sun icon, kind of orangey yellow looking. You click on that, you insert a new sheet. You can also, if I right click a sheet, you get loads of options in the right click menu, and one of them is to be able to insert. So you can just right click the little tab down at the bottom, the worksheet tab, and you can insert from there as well. Now, there were a number of other options in there as well. One of them that I want to talk about here is renaming a worksheet. Right? By default, you add a new worksheet and Excel automatically creates a new worksheet and you get something called sheet 1 or sheet 2 or sheet 3 and 4 or 5 and so on. You can have loads of worksheets in here. We talked about that way earlier. It used to be like 255 worksheets per workbook, but in the more recent editions of Excel, Microsoft bumped that up. You don't really want a load of worksheets. You don't want thousands of worksheets in a workbook because it'll really slow it down. It'll take forever to open. But it's all based on the memory of your computer and the performance of your computer that it can really handle more and more worksheets now. But renaming sheets, really simple to do. You want to keep them organized, right? Give them names that are relevant to the content that's found within that worksheet and makes it easier to find. So really simply, if I want to rename a worksheet, I just double click the worksheet tab. So sheet 1, I want to call that monthly budget. So I'll double click monthly budget, hit my enter key, and I've now renamed that sheet. Sheet 2, this is the one that we were cutting and pasting to. I'll call this, let's just call this copy exercise. So I just double click, start typing, hit your enter key. You've now renamed the sheet. Again, I like shortcuts, so double clicking the tabs is quick and easy to do. You can also right click and you'll have an option in there for rename. I'm going to give you the same option. If I select rename, you just start typing it, your enter key, you're done. But renaming your worksheets. It's something small, it's quick and easy to do, something that we commonly overlook, and really give some thought to it. This would be similar to creating folders on your computer, right? You got to name those folders something that's intuitive, something that gives descriptive information to our users without being too wordy in there, like I'm doing right now. Just rename your sheets. All right, let's jump into the next lecture. Let's talk about deleting a worksheet from a workbook. Now, I want to put a big fat disclaimer on this one, kind of a big warning. Be very careful when deleting sheets from an Excel workbook. The reason for this is once you delete a worksheet from a workbook, for example, delete out the monthly budget, there is no undo for this. Okay? Typically, if something goes wrong when I'm working inside of Excel, the first thing I'll do is Control Z or hit the undo button up on my quick access toolbar, right? But when you delete a worksheet, you can't use that undo button. There's no undo for this. What you could do is if you delete a sheet and it's like, yeah, I'm sure I want to delete that sheet, and you delete it, and then you realize that, I shouldn't have deleted that sheet. No undo for it. So what you can do is you can close Excel. Don't save. Otherwise, you just save that deleted worksheet and it's gone. And then go reopen the file. So don't save, reopen the file, and you'll get the sheet back. But if you've been working for hours, you haven't saved, you delete a sheet, and you realize it's the wrong sheet you deleted. So you close Excel, but you haven't saved all that work that you did up to the point of deleting that sheet. You've just lost all that work. So now you got to kind of weigh, right? What's more important, all that work that I did or that sheet that I just deleted out? So again, big fat warning here. Be careful when deleting sheets from a workbook because you can't easily undo this operation. All right, but this is how you delete sheets. And it's really simple. So I decided that, I want to get rid of this copy exercise one. I'll just right click on the tab, the worksheet tab, copy exercise. Oops, right there. I'll right click on it. And one of my options in there will be delete. So now I get a warning. So hopefully we all read warnings. Here I can see that, Microsoft Excel will permanently, let's underline that, right? Permanently delete this sheet. Do you want to continue? So if I hit delete, delete, it's gone. There is no undo. I can't hit the little arrow. I can't control my way back into that sheet. It's gone. It's been permanently deleted. So the only way I can get it back is if I don't save, I close Excel, reopen up this document, and I'll get that file back. As long as I saved prior to deleting that worksheet. All right, again, like I said, that's a quick one. You right click, you delete, gone. You have to answer the question, are you sure you want to continue? But once you do, it's gone. There's one more little thing here, and I just want to make you aware of this because I get questions about it. I just inserted a new sheet, sheet 3. Because I deleted out sheet 2, Excel now gives me a sheet 3. If I were to delete out the monthly budget, which started out as sheet 1, I would never get sheet 1 back again. It's something small, but you can always rename. So if I really did want sheet 1 or sheet 2 back, double click, give it a name, do what you like with it. But just be aware that Excel, it keeps track and it just doesn't give you back sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, whatever you've deleted. And if you delete a sheet that has no data in it, like sheet 3 here, right click, delete. Oh, Excel will permanently delete the sheet. Do you want to continue? That sheet is gone. Just like before. Had nothing in it, but the sheet's gone. So I now insert a new sheet. What do you think I'm going to get? Sheet 4. There it is. Again, you want to rename it sheet 1, go ahead and do that. All right, so that's just really quickly a little bit of information about deleting sheets. Just be careful of it. That's the big story here, right? It's easy to do. Right click, delete. Just be careful of it. All right, and try it out. Don't delete your budget. We need that. We need that budget, the one that we've been creating, but delete out any other sheet that you want. Let's talk about one more option dealing with worksheets as a whole. Let's talk about moving and copying sheets. So we've seen renaming sheets, adding sheets, and deleting sheets. But what about moving the order of sheets or copying a sheet? Maybe I need an exact duplicate of the monthly budget because this one is for 2019. 2020 is quickly approaching. It'll be here before we know it. And it may already be here depending on when you watch this video. But now I need to create a whole new sheet that's just for 2020. So I need to copy this thing. Well, there's some really simple techniques that you can use here to reorder or move sheets as well as copy sheets. Take a look. So first, moving sheets. I've only got 2 sheets in here, so let's quickly add a couple more sheets. I'm just going to hit the plus sign a few times here. So now I got 5, 6, 7, and 4. Well, you know what? Let's just use that as the example right there. I want to reorder those sheets. Number 4 should go before number 5. Every time I hit that plus sign, it added it right to the left of that sheet. So here, I'll just click on number 4 just to activate that sheet. And I'm just going to left click and drag it. You see that little diamond or that little upside down triangle? It's following me around there. So I will keep an eye on that. I'm going to drag it all the way to the left of sheet 5 and I'll let go. And I've now reordered the sheets. Really simple. Left click the sheet tab, just drag it to where you want to place that tab. Now, that's moving. That literally moves that sheet in the order of your sheets at the bottom of your screen. You can also copy sheets. I decide that monthly budget, this is 2019, I need to create a copy of that for 2020. Well, you saw if we just drag it, that just moves it. Well, let's put that back. If I hold down the control key, I'm going to hold down the control key on my keyboard, and then I'm going to drag it. And there's one little difference. I still got that upside down triangle, but if you look at my mouse cursor, I'll move it up here towards the top. See how it's got that little piece of paper with the plus sign on it? That plus sign means I'm going to copy it. So when I let go, I've now got a copy of monthly budget. And it's monthly budget number 2, because you can't have 2 sheets named the same thing. So they give it a little index number, a little number just to identify it. Number 2. So it's just control, drag, drop, and you've now got your copy of the worksheet. That's simple. I like shortcuts again. Just click and drag, left click, or left click and drag. Hold down the control key, drag to copy it, let go, you get a new copy of it. Right click, delete them. I'm just going to get rid of these 2 copies that we created here. Don't need them, don't want them. Get rid of them. Just as a side note, this is great if you're within the one workbook and you just want to move sheets within here. Now you want to create copies within here. Just drag them, control drag them to copy them. But what if you wanted to move a sheet to another workbook, right? This is my monthly budget.xlsx workbook. What if I want to create a copy or move the monthly budget to a completely different Excel file, right? Well, how would I do that? Well, if you I right-click the monthly budget tab, there's an option in here for move or copy. So if I go to there, we've got a few options. The first one is, well, where do you want to move or copy the sheets to? Well, you can keep it inside of the active workbook, in this case, monthly budget, or I can move it to a new book, a brand new book that creates it at that point, or I can pick from any other workbook that I have open currently on my system. So I can grab the other workbook, I can tell it where to move that to, whether I want to move it before a specific sheet or move it to the end of the workbook, whatever I want to do. And you have the option to copy right there. So you can do it within the one workbook, just click and drag, control click and drag, or you can right click, use the move or copy command, and you got all your options right there. And it'll allow you to move to other workbooks as well. So try this out. Okay? We want to keep our workbook pretty consistent. So make sure you keep the monthly budget. If you create copies of it, great. You can always delete them out. But don't move that one to another workbook. If you want to, make sure you save this one. And then you can scrap the old one or scrap the other one if you'd like to. But make sure you keep the monthly budget because we're going to keep building this thing and we're going to do some super fancy formatting coming up in some next lectures here. But get a feel for moving worksheets and copying worksheets, whether it's within the one workbook or within other workbooks.
Now that we've got an Excel worksheet built, at least the data and the basic structure, let's start to make it more presentable. I want to spice it up. I want to add some formatting to this. Right now, it's just plain. It's just black and white text. We got a percentage here, right? Looking at this column here, but it's a decimal percentage and it's really big and it's, I want it to look better. These numbers, these represent currency amounts, right? They should be formatted with the currency symbol and decimal places and the thousandths comma and so on, right? I want this to look better. The title, we got a title there, but let's spice it up a bit. So the first thing that we're going to take a look at here is formatting within our fonts. I want to change the font. Maybe I want to change the color of the font. I want to make it bold. I want to do something to spice this up. So the next several videos here, we'll talk all about formatting, but let's start out with the font formatting. Let's take a look. So the first place I'm going to start out here is the title. I'm going to click into cell B2 or wherever you got your monthly budget title there at the top of the document. With that cell selected, I'm then going to go up to my home tab, top of the screen, and I'm going to go into the font section. Now we've got all sorts of commands here, all sorts of features. And again, if you've worked within other Office applications, this is going to look familiar, right? Whether it's Outlook or PowerPoint or Word or wherever you've been working. You've got your font defaulted to that Calibri font. Font size, currently 11. We've got your increase and decrease font buttons, font size buttons. You can do it in either place. These are just nice little interactive quick buttons. You've got your bold, italic, underline, and a few other features to that little arrow. You got your borders, your background color, and your font color. And then you've also got this little icon in the corner, a little right angle and arrow, which will open up the Format Cells window. I give that a click, and it's essentially a lot of the same features, plus some additional tabs for other features as well that deal with alignment and number and so on. And close that out. So let's do just some simple font formatting, and then I'll leave it up to you to decide how you want to format this thing. So I can select, again, my monthly budget cell, go to Home, Font, and say I want to make that bold. So I'm just going to hit the B button there. Nice, bold text now, right? And even that small little change there has really bumped this up actually quite a bit, right? It looks different than the rest of the text. Now, I do want to point out, and this is just a quick little plug here, sometimes less is more, okay? We don't want to make everything super special, everything bold, because then everything looks the same again. We want some things to stand out, right? So we want to be careful that we don't go completely overboard, right, with colors and bold and so on, right? You're trying to deliver a message here, right, to your users, to whoever's viewing this document. We want to make it as readable, as accessible as possible. So really highlight those key areas, right? Now, in saying that, I am going to get kind of wacky here because I want to show off some features. So first one is bold. I think that looks good. I can change the font size. Click on the little down arrow and say, I want to make it big. Let's go like 24, right? Get that title to stand out. I want people to open this document and right away recognize that, oh, I'm on the monthly budget. All right. Now, once that is bold and increased in font size, I think it's looking pretty good. But I'm also going to go back up to font and I'm going to go into the color. I'm going to hit the little down arrow here. And we got all sorts of colors we can pull from. Now, I do want to point out, and this is really something I want you to put in the back of your head for a moment, right? Put it back here somewhere. So your colors are broken up into two sections. You got theme colors, and then you got standard colors. The standard colors, these have been around and the same ever since I can remember inside of Excel. For the most part, pretty much the same, standard colors. Okay. The theme colors, themes were actually introduced inside the 2007 edition of Excel, at least fully introduced inside the 2007 edition. Now here, I'm seeing several different colors, several different columns and rows of colors, but the theme color is actually tied to the theme of this document. Okay, take a look at this. If I go up to my, where is this at? Yeah, the page layout tab, top of the screen. On the left-hand side, you've got themes. Now, if I go into the big themes button, little down arrow there, I can see that my default currently active theme is Office. And it's really small, but they'll show you a sample of the colors that come with that theme. Now, if I quickly go back to home and I go into the font color, this is the Office theme colors. Now, if I go back to page layout, I go to themes. Let's say I pick a different one. I pick, let's pick one that's really going to stand out here. I'm going to grab the circuit theme. Now, compare. See those colors right there? Oops, those colors right there? Compare those to the Office theme colors. I'm going to pick circuit. Circuit, there it is. And if I go back to home, into my fonts, I've now got the circuit theme colors. So Microsoft has created this theme or these complementary colors that we can then use throughout our document. And it's all set up for you. Very slick. Now I'm going to go back. I want to point that out just because it's there and they have broken the colors up into different themes. I'm going to go back to Office. But if you want to pick a different one, if you see some colors and some complementary colors that you like that you want to utilize inside your document, and there's a lot of them, you can pick a different theme if you like. I'm going to stick with Office, just the default. I'll go back to home and I'll pick a color. I like blues. I'm going to grab that one. Blue Accent 1. Let's see. Yeah, let's stick with Blue Accent 1. I'll grab that one. And I've now formatted my title. Very slick. Just font formatting. Again, you got your font. I could change that. Maybe I want to go with Arial Black. Really make it stand out bold, right? I've made it bold. I've changed the font size. Went from 11 to 24. And I've now changed the font color. So take a moment, right, before you jump to the next video. Pause this one. And let's do a little bit of formatting on that title. I'm going to do the rest, but I want to show off some other features that we can utilize that'll help streamline your formatting as well. So let's at least get that title done. Get that thing formatted, and then we'll jump into the next video. All right, we've got a little bit of font formatting happening there, right, to the text that's within the cell. In this case, I did the monthly budget. Made it bold, made it bigger, changed the color. I changed the font, no longer Calibri, but now we got Arial Black. Right, you pick your favorite font as well. Let's take a look at another really quick feature here. I want to change the background color of my title. Now, the title's a little bit more unique because I've made it so big. It actually expands across multiple cells. You see here that the main cell is B2. but then it also bleeds into C2 and D2 and E2. And if I start making it bigger, it's going to keep going there. So we're going to talk about changing the background color here, but we also need to adjust the space that text is found within. Okay, so we're going to change background color here, but then in a later video, we're going to talk about a feature called merge and center. So we'll come back to that. Once again, put it in the back of your head. Hold on to that idea for a moment. Then we do need to adjust this, and we'll come back to it. All right, let's talk about the fill color, the background color of a cell. Really simple. I click into a cell, such as B2. I'm going to go back to my Home tab, and underneath the font section, you got a little paint bucket. If I hit the little down arrow, just like the font color right next door, that capital A, it's broken up into the theme colors and your standard colors. So from here, I'm going to pick a color. Let's see, I made the text initially blue, but I think I'm going to change some stuff here. So let's say I go, I'm going to make the background blue, which kind of overrides my text, and I'm going to make the text white. So I went back to the font color there, then I'll make that the white color there. All right, that's looking pretty good. I like the background color. I like how the white text makes that pop. But now we're running into the issue of, well, I'm not seeing the rest of the text. So what I'm going to do here first is going to be, it's not really the absolute way that I want to do it, but we're going to do it this way to hold on for just a moment, and then I'm going to show you another option later on. So for right now, to get that text to show up, I'm going to highlight C2. I'm going to hold down my left mouse button, and I'm going to drag all the way over to the G column. And I'm going to go ahead and change the fill color, the background color, to that blue color as well. Let's just get that nice title there. All right, looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. Now, it's not absolutely finished here yet. Like I said, we're going to talk about merge and center in just a little bit. But for now, quickly grab a cell, such as your title there, maybe multiple cells, like B2 to G2, and let's change that fill color. Let's pick whatever you want. If you need to change your font color to get them so they don't interfere or mismatched colors, right, change that as well if you need to. But try that out, then let's jump into the next video. Now, something else you can do, and this is also found within the font section of the Home tab, is you can add borders to cells. Now, I've got my title there. It's not complete yet, but monthly budget, nice, big, bold, Arial black font. It's white, so it stands out from that blue background. And it's got the blue background there, right? And it spans across multiple cells, right? Going from B2 to G2. Well, what I want to do now is I want to put a nice border, just a bottom border. We could put one all the way around it, but I think for mine, I want to put just a bottom border there, just a nice thick border. Okay. So I'm going to select from B2, left click and drag, and I'm going to grab B2 to G2. Let's get them all, because I want to put a border across all of those cells there. So with that highlighted, I'm going to go back to my Home tab, right, Home. Inside the font section, you've got your border command. Now, if I click on the little arrow next door to the border, you're going to get several different flavors or configurations of borders you can apply here. You can see that we got just bottom border, top border, left, right, no border. That's a common question that I get asked a lot. How do I remove borders from cells? Well, it's right there. Select the group of cells. You can use no border. All borders, outside borders, thick out, and so on. It has so many different options here. Now, like I said, I just want to apply a bottom thick border here. So I'm going to grab the thick bottom border. I'm going to click away now. Can't really see it. But if I click someplace else, I've now got a nice little border right there. Look at that. And again, even just something small like that, right? Remember, sometimes less is more. Just even something small like that. It doesn't have to be a big, huge border. It doesn't have to go around the entire thing. It can. It's your choice, right? You can pick however you want to format this. But sometimes the little things really add to the presentation. Okay? So just selecting the cells, Home tab, font, you got your border command right there with all these presets, these pre-configured options for you to choose from. So try that out. Add a border to the title of your worksheet. All right, let's take borders a step further. So you recall, I want to add a border, whether it's a bottom border, side borders, top borders, borders all around. We've got some pre-configured options for us to pick from. You select the cells. So in this case, I grab B2 to G2. That's where I want to place my border. Or maybe I want to put a border down here, this group of cells, and I just want to put a bottom border to separate that top data from the rest of the data below. Whatever it happens to be, select your cells. Let's say I go back to my monthly budget, B2 to G2. With that highlighted, I can go back to home, back into the border section, and you got all those pre-configured options for you to pick from. Now, what if I want something different? Maybe I want a thicker border, or I want a different style of border. Rather than a solid line, I want a dotted line or dashed line. Or maybe I want to change the color. I don't just want a black border, but maybe I want to make it green or orange or whatever. So down at the bottom, we've got some additional options. We've got things like line color, got all those colors to pick from. You got styles to pull from. Remember, dashed and dotted and so on. And then we got this option for more. I'm going to go ahead and hit the more borders. This is going to open up an additional window. It's the format cells on the border tab. And from here, I can completely customize my borders. So this window, it's my first time in this window. I remember way back when, first time in here, it was a bit confusing as to how this thing worked because it's actually a couple of steps to go through. Watch this. Over on the right, we have a preview window. It's really this guy right here. This preview of what your border looks like. So if I say, you know what, I want my border to be a little bit thicker. Right now, this is my current option right here. But right below, I got a slightly thicker one. So I grab that. Boop. You'll notice when I did that, my preview did not change. Didn't update. Well, once I make a selection, I then click where I want to apply that selection. Okay, let's say color. Let's say I want it to be orange. Right? I don't want the black border. I want a nice orange border to go along with my blue. Well, it didn't update my preview. So once I've selected my color, I can then click where I want to apply that color. So once I've done that, once I've made my changes in there, got the different styles, different thickness, where you want to place the borders, left, right, top, bottom, wherever, colors, I can then hit OK. And if I click out of that cell, I've now got that nice orange border there. So take a moment, right? This is really up to you. You decide how you want it to look. Right now, I'm just focusing on the title. We'll break it down into the rest of the data here shortly. But get some font formatting in there, get a background, a fill color, and get some type of border in there as well. Try these things out. Get in there, get your hands dirty, start to work inside of Excel. So we've got some formatting going on in here, starting to look a little bit more presentable, right? Not quite there just yet, but we've got the title, and the title looks really good. Now let's start getting into the data. The first thing that we're going to focus on here is the numeric data. I want to do some formatting on these currency amounts, right? Specifically, this data right here and this data right here. Those are currency amounts. We should have the currency symbols, right? Whatever your region happens to be, whether that's the dollar, the rupee, or whatever it happens to be, wherever you're located at around the world. We want some currency symbols in there. And we want the proper thousandths delimiter, the decimal, right? Whatever it happens to be. Let's do some formatting. Now, I'm going to go through a couple of options here. You get to choose what looks good, what's your preference. That's totally up to you and what's going to make your data look the best. So what I like to do is first, let's focus on the top portion, right? I'm going to grab cells C5 to F5. Those are all my currency values within the main spreadsheet, right? That main monthly budget area. So with those highlighted, I can then go up to my home tab and underneath the number section, this guy right here, we've got your currency style. I can click on the little down arrow. There's actually a couple different options for me to pick from. Yours might be in there. I've got English, United States. That's actually the one that I'm going to grab here. But there's United Kingdom, you got the Euro, you got the Chinese Yen, and so on, right? You got some more accounting formats actually down below there as well. So for mine, I'm going to go ahead and just grab the default, which was the English United States. Okay? That's mine. So once that's selected, I can now see that it's actually using what's called an accounting style. Okay? So if I look down at my data, I've now got the dollar symbol inside there. I've got the thousandths delimiter with a comma. I've got the dot for the decimal, and it's looking pretty good. I can now read that as these are dollar amounts. These are currency amounts. It looks pretty good. Now, there's something that I don't like about this. Although it reads now as currency, right? That looks good. But I feel like it's too busy. There's too much. It's just too big of a block of data. It's just, right? I want to make this, I want to give it some breathing room, right? So here's what I like to do. And again, this is a total option. This is a preference. You can decide if you like this or not. What I do is I format the first row and the last row just like that. Currency. Boom. It's got the currency symbol. It's got the proper delimiters inside there. Thousandths, comma, the decimal, whatever, right? Your specific region. But the middle section, this guy right here, that I don't need the dollar symbol. Although it's nice, it just looks too busy. So what I like to do, and again, total preference here, is I'm going to highlight that C6 to F9. So leaving out the first and last row. With that highlighted, once again, back to my home tab, back to the number section, and this time I'm going to use the comma style option. So if I give that a click, the little comma there, boop, the currency symbol is gone, right? I can extrapolate and determine that, oh, all of this is currency because that first row and last row is, but I've removed it from here. It's still kept the decimal, and if I had thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, then it would put in the appropriate comma or characters for you there as well. So for me, it just opens it up a little bit, gives it a little bit of breathing room. I think it's just that much more presentable. But once again, it's a total option. You get to decide how you want to do it. The key here is highlight your cells, number section, and turn on your currency styles. Try it out. Still thinking of numeric formatting? Let's do a quick one here. We've got that percent column right here, just inside of column G. We figured out the percent of the totals, the individual bill totals, compared to the grand total, right? We got a percent. But default, when we did that division, it gave us a decimal percentage, which is great, right? I can look here and I can say, okay, 0.58, it's roughly 58%. 0.06 is roughly 6%, and so on. Okay? But decimal percentages are nice, but I want it to look like a percent. I want to make this more readable, right? People can look at it right away and say, oh yeah, 58%, 6%, 10%, 18%, and so on, right? So first step, just like before, I'll highlight my block of data. I've got G5 down to G10. Those are all my percentages there. Back up to my home tab, back into the number section, and I've got my percent style right there. So I can go up into my number section, hit the percent style, and I've now got my percent. Pretty slick. And a single button press, right? Highlight your data, hit the percent style, and you're done, right? It looks pretty good. Now, there's something that we can change here. I've lost the decimals, right? Because it's now in a whole percentage for us. If I click on a cell inside there, we'll see just our formula there still. But this was actually 58%. When I turned on the percent style, it rounded for me because we lost those additional digits right within that decimal percent. So what I like to do here, every penny counts, right? Right? We got to keep track of that. So I can highlight that data. I can go back to my home tab again, back into the number section, and we've got these two little buttons right here. We got an increase and decrease decimal. So what I want to do is I want to increase the decimal. I'm going to go ahead and hit this left button here. Whoop. So now I've got my 58.5. Right? It rounded up on me. 6.5 8. Let's see if I knock it down, if I decrease it, and it went to 7, rounded on me. So I'm going to bump it up. Maybe I'll go 2. We'll go 2 levels of decimals, right? Nice, right? Every percent, every penny counts. So once again, a preference, you get to decide. But let's highlight that data. Let's get it formatted properly as a percentage. And if you'd like, as an option, you can increase the decimal and get some of those digits to the right of your decimal to show up for you. Try it out. So in the next 2 lectures, we're going to take a look at 2 features, 2 great features that are going to help streamline your efforts as you're applying formatting inside of Microsoft Excel. Now, this first feature that I'm going to show off here is actually not just a specific Excel feature, but the same feature will work inside of Word, PowerPoint, Visio, if you work with Microsoft Visio, and other Microsoft Office applications. This feature is called the Format Painter. Now, the purpose of the Format Painter is essentially a copy and paste operation, but for formatting only. Take a look. So my first step, here's the scenario. I'm going to format cell B12, where I got that min text. Now I'm going to format it, and I'm going to go through a series of steps. I'm going to do things like change the font, change the background color, change the font size, change its style. I'm going to go through and perform several steps. Now I decide later on that, oh, you know what? I really like that. I want to apply that same formatting to another area on the same worksheet, or even another worksheet within the workbook. Here's the Format Painter. So first step, I'm going to go to cell B12. With that cell selected, I'm now going to format it. And you decided what you want to do here. I'm going to make it bold. I'm going to change the font size. Let's go to 12. I'm going to change this background color. I already used green or used blue. I'm going to use green. I'm going to change the font to white. And I'm going to right align it. So I'm going to go into the alignment section of the Home tab, and I'm going to go ahead and right align. Looks pretty good. Now that was 4 or 5 steps that I just went through to apply the formatting to that cell. Now I decide I want to use that same formatting on count. Well, with B12 selected, the cell that I want to copy the formatting from, I'm going to go to my Home tab, and underneath the clipboard section, I'll have Format Painter. So I'm going to give it a single click. Okay, there's actually 2 operations I could do here. A single click allows me to use the Format Painter once. If I double click on the Format Painter, it will remain active until I either click on the Format Painter again or I hit the escape key on my keyboard. Very cool. So I'm going to click on it once. You'll see my cursor now has this little paintbrush attached to it. See that guy there? And it's got a little copy marquee around the B12 cell. I'm going to go click on count and boop, done. Those 4 or 5 steps that I applied to B12, I've now copied to another location. Very cool. This way I don't have to remember, oh, what color did I use? What font size did I use? What font did I use? Right? It's just copy, paste the formatting. Now, let's try this once again. I go back to B12. I'm going to give the Format Painter a double click. Click, click. Now, got the little paintbrush on there, but now it's going to remain active. Click on max, click on average. I could use it over and over and over again, even on other worksheets, right? Until I either click on the Format Painter option again, or I hit the escape key on my keyboard. You see the little paintbrush is still there. I click on the number 5. What is that? F15. Boop. Still active. I'll hit the escape key, and now it's turned off. Format Painter is no longer active. Very cool. Save you loads of time. Reuse the formatting that you've already applied, right? Even think of this. You receive a document from a coworker. Ooh, I really like that formatting that they applied inside this Excel document. I want to use the same formatting. Well, rather than digging through the tools and trying to figure out what did they use, right? What font, what color, and so on, Format Painter. You'll love it. Save you loads of time. Double click, keeps it active. All right, try it out. Let's take a look at the second formatting option that I want to show off inside this section. Remember, these 2 lectures, the Format Painter you just took a look at, and this one right here are going to help streamline your efforts. Now, this feature is called Cell Styles. Essentially, a style is saved formatting. Formatting that you want to be able to reuse throughout your document. Now, This feature also lives inside of Microsoft Word, and I use it inside of Word all of the time. It's going to save you loads of time with your formatting. You do it once, you save it, then you can just reuse it throughout your document. And if you update, you change something about the saved formatting, it would then update your entire document. As an example, right? I'm going to format the headers up here. I want all those headers to look the same way formatting wise, as far as colors and size and font, that type of stuff. Now we do have two different types of data. We got text and dates, so we need to keep that in mind, but I want the overall colors and feel of them to remain the same. So I format them, make them look good, I use it as a style, and then later on I decide, you know what, that looks good, but maybe I want to change the background color. Well, now I go back to the style, I update the style, and it would update all the cells that are using that style. Very cool. Take a look. This is how you use styles inside of Microsoft Word. All right, so first thing I'm going to do here is go to my Home tab, and there's actually a couple different ways that you can create styles inside of Word. But here, I'm going to go Home, I'm going to go over into the Styles section, and there's an option for Cell Styles. Now, ever since I can remember inside of Excel, Microsoft ships the application with a handful of styles. They've actually given us more in the later releases that's already built into the system. So if I go Home, Cell Styles, here's a bunch of defaults that they've already given me. Now I'm on a Windows system here, so when I hover over the top of them, I get a quick little preview. You can watch that selected cell there, what it does, right? How it looks with that style or that formatting applied to it. Now I want to create a new one. So I'm going to go down to New Cell Style, give that a click. So it opens up my style window where I'm going to give it a name. So I'm going to call this Awesome, Awesome Style. There we go, because it's going to be awesome. Now, down below, we get to tell what the style is going to include. Now, very important here. There's a handful of check marks here. I want to do things like the font, its color, its background color, maybe borders, right? Various things that change the appearance of that cell. But what I do not want to do, because we've got a mix of text and dates or numeric data there, I don't want the number formatting to change. Right? I don't want bills to become a date, and I don't want January 2019 to become a text value, right? Or a straight up number. So in the little check marks for my styles includes, I'm going to turn off the number. I don't want that to happen. I definitely don't want these to become general. We spent the time customizing those, getting those dates to look the way that we want them to. So I'm going to turn that off. The rest of them I'm going to leave on. The alignment, the font, the borders, the fill, protection. We haven't talked about protection yet, but we'll get there. But now, with all of those active, I'm going to go to Format. So open up my Format Cells window, where I'm going to apply some formatting. So let's say I'm currently on B4. This is what I'm going to apply to these cells here. I'm going to go to Fill. I'm going to use the green again. I like that green. That looks nice. You pick a color, whatever you want to do. I'm going to go to Font. We'll make it bold. I'm going to bump it up to 14. Let's go white for text. And I'm going to do a border. I'm going to go to border. I'm going to do style, the nice thick one. I'll keep it at the default automatic, which is actually black. And I need to apply that. So with the thicker border automatic, I'm going to hit the bottom portion of the preview window. Let's apply that there. All right. Whatever you want to do, though, spend some time in here. You can change the alignment, stay away from the number tab once again, but whatever you want to do. And I'm going to hit OK. All right, so I've now modified that awesome style. I'm going to hit OK. All right, we've created the style. It's there. Hasn't applied it out here anywhere. I didn't get a green cell, but now I'm going to highlight these cells. I'm going to go to my Home tab. On the Home tab, I'll go back into Styles, and I'm going to go into Cell Styles. And what are we going to get? There's my awesome style. I'll give that a click. Whoop. I've now applied it to all of those cells. Right now, I've got a bunch of pound symbols, hashtags, whatever you want to call them right there. That just means that the column is too narrow to display that date. So I'm just going to increase the column width of column E just a little bit, just right there between E and F. Give that a drag over. Now it looks pretty good. Nice border, green background, white text, bold, 14 point. I made it a little bit bigger, perhaps too big, but I've got a style. I've saved it. I can reuse it. If I select another cell like men down here, that's where I did the format painter earlier, I can go back to cell styles, and there's my awesome style. I could apply it to that cell. I'm not going to. I'm going to click away. Now we decide, it's awesome, right? You hand it off to your coworkers, to your manager, and they're like, yeah, man, this is awesome, right? But you know what? That font's actually too big. Green, let's try another color. Could you try something out there? Well, you know what? Now I got to reformat all those cells. Maybe I used it all over the place, right, throughout this worksheet, even on other worksheets. But to make a quick update, I'm just going to go back to cell styles. There's my awesome one. I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to go to modify. All right, inside of modify, I'm going to go back to format. And inside of here, let's say the font size too big. I went 14. Let's say I go to 12. That's good. Fill. They didn't like the green. I like the green. I think the green looks good. I'm going to get this kind of grayish blue color here. Let's try that one out. Yeah, that looks good. All right, I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to hit OK again. There's my awesome style. And I've now updated everybody that's using that style. That is cool, right? Create your styles, save them, reuse them, and quick updates. Try this out. This next feature we're going to take a look at here is one that I love this feature. I use it quite a bit, but it is one that you do want to be careful of, specifically careful where you use it. Now, the place that I'm going to use it at here, it's great. I'll use it all of the time. But you use it in headers in a list, then you're going to run into issues. And then I'll describe why you could potentially run into issues with this tool. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Put it in the back of your head. I love it. I use it all the time. Just be careful with it. All right? Watch this. So this feature is called Merge and Center. Now we're going to go all the way back to my title here. Remember monthly budget instead of B2. I put all of that text there. You can actually see I've got B2 selected. And you can see that it's up there inside of the formula bar right there. But even though it sits all right there inside of B2, I had to format all of these cells just for aesthetics, right? Just formatting, just to make it look good. But if I click into C2 or D2 or E2 or any of those other cells, the formatting's there, but you'll notice that the text is not inside of that cell. It's just formatting, just to make it look good. So those are still individual cells. Okay. What the Merge and Center does is we're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cells, right? B2 to G2, and we're going to merge them all into one big cell and then center that text inside of that area. All right. So first step, I just highlight the cells that I want to merge all together. With them selected, I'll go to my Home tab. Underneath the Alignment section, here we go right here, Alignment section, we've got the Merge and Center button. I'll give that a click. So it's now taken those 6 individual cells and it's merged them all together into one, and it's centered that text. See that? Very cool. I think it looks nice and clean. Now we manage one cell. I don't have to worry about formatting 6 individual cells separately and then managing that, right? It's just one cell that we select and make our edits to. And it's all right there inside the formula bar. Monthly budget. That's your Merge and Center. So remember, you highlight the cells you want to merge together, go to your Home tab, underneath Alignment, Merge and Center, done. Now, I did say it's great. I use it all the time in scenarios like this right here, titles on a worksheet. But things like a list, like this guy down below, I see people use it, but it can mess it up in the headers or even in the data. Want to be careful of that. Because when you get into sorting and filtering, then you're really going to run into issues. You can't sort and filter merged cells. Okay? And it can also get in and wreak havoc inside of printing operations as well. So do be careful of it. Titles, great. You're golden. Okay? Try it out. Nice and presentable there. Got a nice title merged across those 6 cells. So we've been doing quite a bit of formatting over the past few videos here. We're going to take a look at one more formatting operation built inside of Microsoft Excel, but there's going to be a twist to this one. Here, we're going to get into conditional formatting. Now, there's all sorts of stuff that you can do with conditional formatting. In a little nutshell, conditional formatting applies formatting based on a condition. So let me give you an example. We've got our nice little monthly budget here. We've got some dollar amounts here. We've got percentages that we can maybe do something with. I could say something like, looking at the dollar amounts, just not the totals, but the monthly amounts there. What is that? C5 down to F9. Those cells right there. I want to say, I want something to turn red if it's above, $500. Something like that. And I actually selected the total there as well. I just want the monthly total, monthly amounts. So the bill amounts. So I want the C5 down to E9 cells. So if it's above, let's make it a little bit more. Let's actually a little bit less. Let's say if it's more than $250, then make it turn red. Something like that. You ever have to do that? You ever have to go through a list and highlight specific records? Right? Oh, this record meets the criteria. Maybe there's a date that you're looking at. If the date exceeds today's date, if the date was before today's date, something like that. Or it fell in the month of August. August is a good month. If it fell in the month of August, then I want to format it. Something like that. A condition that dictates if the formatting should be applied. Take a look. This is conditional formatting inside of Excel. So the first step, you got to decide, well, which cells do I want to format? Where's the condition going to be found? In our case, I'm going to select C5 down to E9. Those are the cells I want to format if they're greater than $250. Something like that. With that selected, I'll go back to my Home tab. Underneath the Styles section, we've got conditional formatting. So I'm going to go up to conditional formatting. You got all sorts of stuff. In the newer releases, ever since the 2007 release of Excel, Microsoft has added loads of features in here. Loads of features, a lot of cool stuff. And we're going to take a look at least this beginning, we're going to take a look at a very common one, a very simple one. But you've also got things like data bars, you got color scales, icon sets. I love icon sets. I highly recommend experiment with this stuff right here. Okay? But for right now, I'm going to go up to highlight cell rules, and I'm going to use the greater than operation. So this opens up my greater than. They already defaulted at $550. You can see that they're highlighting anything that's greater than $550. But I said $250, right? So I'm going to put $250 in there. You can see now I've got 2 rows highlighted. They got some default formatting you could pick from. Light red, fill, dark red text, green fill, dark green text. It's great. Got some defaults. You can also go down to custom format. And from here, let's say I just want the text to turn, or not the text, but the cell to turn red. That's it. That's all I care about, just the fill. So I'll hit OK. There it is. I'll hit OK again. And I've now applied my conditional formatting. Now, you can do this manually, but one, now you got to go search your list. And if you got hundreds or thousands of records, that's going to take you some time. Highlight the cells, Home tab, conditional formatting, highlight rules, and you got your various operations right there. Now, again, we only use one of them, but you got several operations you could use there. Now, it is dynamic, so if something changes, let's say this goes from the month of January, we had a huge party, had to get a bunch of food. Now, actually, we want to go the other way around. January, I just spent all my money on the holidays. Now I got to lower my bill for January. So let's say it goes down to 200. Whoop, and it update and the formatting applies appropriately. Conditional formatting. Try it out. All right, so what do you think? Conditional formatting, stuff that you would normally do manually, go through there and search your records and apply formatting just to highlight them, draw attention to specific records, whatever it might be. But now it's really getting Excel to do the work for you. You specify the rule, you specify what to happen if the rule is true, and it formats it for you. Very cool. Now, a very common question that I get at this point is, that's great, I love it. What if you want to edit the rule? Right? 250, I want to change that to 500, right? Whatever it is, I want to edit. I want to change the color, right? Red, it doesn't really go with the rest of my colors. Let's change it to something else like orange or whatever, right? Well, to edit the rule, really simple. I'm just going to go back to my home tab, back to conditional formatting. This time I'm going to go down to manage rules. This opens up my rules manager, and in there I can see my existing rule. You may need to change this option here. So right now it's show formatting rules for current selection. I currently have a cell selected within the range that I formatted. You do have a little drop down here. I can say this worksheet. So if I'm clicked out here somewhere, I can say this worksheet, and would show me everything that's been applied on this worksheet. Now if I want to edit it with that rule selected, go up to edit rule, and I can change something. Let's say I can change the rule itself, maybe the value 250. I want to change it to 500. Whatever you want to do there. For me, I'm just going to go down to the format button, and instead of red, I'm going to go with the orange. Let's see. Let's do this one a little darker, a little more rich orange. And I'll say okay, and I'm going to hit okay again. There's my new rule. You see the color change there, and I'll hit okay, and I've now updated my rule. Okay, really simple to do. Again, just home tab, conditional formatting, manage rules, and you can do it all right here. Got the edit rule button. Remember, you may need to change this operation here. You can also create new rules and delete existing rules from this window. Okay, so try this out. Open up the window at least, even if you don't make a change. Find out where it's at, take a look at it, log that to memory, and that way you know where it's at. Later on, you're going to use it. You're going to create rules and want to edit them. So there it is right there. Try it out.